I hit the button there. That's all right. All right. And the other thing I will say is our views, 4 to like 11. I think we're at like 19 on the third.
We're steadily increasing. I like it.
I mean, this graph, if we manipulate the data like everybody in a company does.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, why you haven't invested in this show, I will not know. Like this is the ground
on the
floor.
train. Now's the time.
I mean, you talk about SpaceX going to Mars.
Yes.
I don't know what you're looking at,
The
but
trajectory is amazing.
The excitement in the seats we are in are fantastic.
From our viewpoint right now, from our vantage point, things are looking up.
The best. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hoop and the Harm with, as always, joined by Nolan, our expert NBA analysis from New York. I am your host, Brendan, as always. And I have to, being a Suns fan, we saw history. And you would be like, wow, what happened? Did Brandon Beal go off? Did Booker do great? No, we played Denver. And the Joker had a 30-20-20 game.
Crazy.
Like, just for everyone to just, again, visualize it. 30 points. We've seen 30 points. We've seen 20 rebounds. I have to remember, like, Jason Kidd.
We've seen 20
assists.
But not like altogether like that. That's crazy.
Like, just bundle it up, put it under the tree, and say, this is the game you're going to have. Now, granted, they went to overtime. It's how he got all of his assists. You could even argue that the way they track assists today are a little looser, a lot looser than they used to be. However, he didn't have like 20 rebounds and 20 assists. He had well over 20 rebounds and well over 20 assists. I think the points he was at 32. I think 30, he barely hit 32.
Right.
And it's crazy, and it's not like the Suns played him to overtime. They were playing really hard.
Everything the Joker brings to the table was on display. It was like he decided he didn't want to go home that night. He decided he wanted to play basketball. He wanted to dig in and play basketball.
His stat line this year is it as I've said on group chats, private chats, lunches, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
His stat line makes absolutely no sense to me. And when I look at it, and everyone, we're getting into that MVP race, the 30-20-20 game just never been done in the NBA ever. Ever. Okay, so everybody needs to understand that's never been done. So it's not like the rules got a little loose this year. They've been playing like this for a while. So no one's ever done this, which is pretty amazing, to say the least.
Yeah.
So have you looked at his stats, right? His stat line for this year, he's got 28.9 points per game, third in the NBA. 13 rebounds per game, third in the NBA, and 10.5 assists per game, second in the NBA. That's his season stats.
It's insane.
10.5 assists for a center. Now, field goal percentage, he's shooting 57.7%. From 3, he's shooting 43%.
Nasty.
It's just, and you watch that game. I'll tell you, I watched that game. I knew he had the stats. Like, I knew it. But when you're watching the game, none of the stuff he's doing, you're like, man, everything, like his passes, his rebounds, it's just like.
Even almost 1 steal per game. I mean, almost 2 steals per game.
Because he's so quick.
Crazy.
He's anticipated. Well, he's not going to lead the league in blocks. We can all agree on that.
If he stopped thinking about horses for just a second, imagine how good this guy would be. No, I'm just kidding.
I watch it. It's like slow motion poetry. I don't know how to put it because if you were to say this player, if you were to describe the NBA, it's fast-paced. Guys are jumping out of the ceiling.
Could you imagine being a fan in the 90s of the NBA and being plucked from that time, put into here and forced to watch like a Nuggets game? Joker would be like the last guy that you would think, oh, this guy's going to be the best player on the court tonight. Like, do you know how many guys had the exact like body shape and like stature of like Jokic in the 90s and were like terrible?
So Luke Longley is going to be doing what?
Yeah, exactly. Like slightly skinnier Bryant Big Country Reeves is gonna go 30 for 20 for 20 tonight? What is that?
And my favorite thing that they were talking about is the tryouts before the draft, because they usually do one-on-ones. I guarantee you, Joker was so unimpressive one-on-one.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, he made his shots, he did his moves, he did all this stuff. I mean, he can still do all those things, but nobody was watching it going like,
I don't know. I mean,
this is my guy.
he probably was like, you know, like if you were really paying attention, you had to notice. Like if you know ball, you have to know. But like, yeah, it could have been one of those quiet guys that like he's beating everybody's, but he's not doing these like flashy dunks. He's not like, you know, doing these crazy step back threes over and over again. But I mean, who else would you want one-on-one? You know, I mean, maybe I guess defensively, there's an argument to make. You wouldn't want to pick Joker, but no one's stopping him.
No, and my favorite. You want to know where he was drafted?
Was it the second round?
Yes.
And was he this was the same year as Porzingis?
Let me go all the way back up to the top. 2014.
Okay.
Andrew Wiggins was number 1.
Okay, so that wasn't
Embiid was number 3. Julius Randle was number 7 for the Lakers. I mean, Marcus Smart, Aaron Gordon. I mean, he's 41.
Yeah. And I brought up Porzingis because I remember there being a time like, you know, early on, like who's better, Porzingis or Jokic? And it's like, it's not even close.
No.
Not even
No,
close.
I look at this draft and it's just like, this is the part that drives me nuts because I feel like there's so much pain as a Suns fan. We just missed the right guy at the wrong moment, if that makes any sense. Like we picked like one that will kill me forever. And for those that want to just go down memory lane, the Suns are doing great. They have this 7 seconds or less. They're doing really good. They draft Casey Jacobson of Stanford instead of Tayshaun Prince of Kentucky.
Wow.
Piston gets Prince.
What a fit.
Because the reason they did it is because they had Sean Marion. And they're like, we already have a lengthy guy. And I'm like, what? You can't use another lengthy guy?
No, you want the lengthy guys. You want
Casey
all the
Jacobson said bye. He showed up, and then he said bye because, again, he was a spot shooter. And he couldn't play D. Like, again, so when I look at the Joker, I look at all the teams that pass him.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Suns drafted T.J. Warren. You know him, household name. He's been around forever.
Hey, he's on the Westchester Knicks right now, tearing it up.
I just laugh because it's like, this guy, 30, 20, and 20, 41st pick. 41st because pick. That's how unimpressive he was to all the general managers.
Yeah.
Not one, all of them.
I bet you a lot of them didn't even know who he was.
I bet you a lot of them didn't even bring him in for a walk. I watched his tape and they were like, he can't even run the court.
Yeah. He just like to the point about like looking, like seeing him and not knowing, like he doesn't look the part, which is what makes him so I think likable. You know, if you're a Suns fan and he's beating your team, but I love the Joker, man. I think he's great for the NBA.
He's so nonchalant. Like it's so, like I was just thinking about like these assists. Like I watch his assist, and again I watch the Suns more than I probably should, because it's very painful here for me. Not for you with the Knicks. You at least get to watch some good basketball. But I watch the Suns, and I think how hard it is for them to get an assist, not 10 assists in a game, just a assist.
Yeah.
Like they're working really hard. Guys are moving around. They're feeding passes. And then I watch Joker get like 8 in the first quarter. He just runs, takes his 2 steps, throws it behind his back. A guy shoots a 3. He runs, finds a guy wide open for a layup. And I'm just watching it, and I'm like, assist, assist, assist. And then you look at his stat, 10.5.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't. Suns can't get 10.5 as a team and a half.
And his... I just picture him like after the game, like on the couch eating a bag of potato chips, like watching Netflix like the rest of us slobs, like late at night, and you're not even thinking basketball.
I know he's very big, so I can't compare it to like if he showed up at a Y League or street ball and you were like, I got him.
Yeah.
But like, again, the size obviously helps, but it's just he's so nonchalant. Even his shot, if you watched him shoot like pregame, you'd be like, that guy's making shots? Yes. How is everybody not blocking that shot?
Yeah.
And then my favorite shot of a memory of him, because you remember the playoffs against AD when he took that fallback three
Yeah.
as time was expiring?
Yep.
And he just like casually took a step back three against a really good defender who is his same size. He's not 6'1", 7 foot, very long arms, and he shot this rainbow three, and it counts. And I'm just watching that going like, even that didn't make sense.
He's just like, he's got some crazy voodoo where he suckers people, I guess, into thinking he's just this schlep that just, doesn't even try hard and just kind of like shows up and puts on the jersey. But my guy's got skills.
Can dribble.
He can.
He has.
He can do everything.
He can do all the stuff. Again, I watch him, and every time I watch him, I don't walk away from it and go like, wow, I just watched greatness. I watched the 30-20-20 game. I was like, he's going to get it. Because once we went to overtime and he just started, dishing the ball, I'm like, he's getting this. And then I left and I was like, it's never been done in NBA.
Never.
But I didn't walk away going like, wow, what a game. Like, I remember I would watch, like, you remember Kobe's 81.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Kobe's 81 was like, stop the world and watch this. This is amazing. Joker did 30-20-20, and it's never been done. And I'm like, I don't think I texted anyone. It was like, you got to see this.
No. Because you didn't really
It's
believe
so
what was
unassuming.
happening. Like,
Right. Right. It's like happening. And I'm like,
it was like, I don't know
That
what
really
to
happened?
do with this. I don't know how to process this right now.
yeah, because I think that's the problem with it as anybody who's GM or anything. You're like, what do you do with this? Like, I'm sure he went out for all those teams and they watched this film and they're like, yeah, but the game can't translate to the NBA. It just can't translate.
That I'm sure they were like, he doesn't have enough athleticism. He's going to get burnt all the time. I'm sure they had all the excuses.
And I honestly, even with all those stats, I don't think he wins the MVP this year because they're going to give it to the greatness that is OKC.
To SGA. Yeah.
And he's having an incredible season too.
And his team is, I know, off camera we were talking about some, maybe even yourself don't know if if OKC is really the real deal, but there really are like a class above, I feel like, the rest of the West right now and for the entire season up to this point. So I don't know how you don't give it to SGA. That said, if Joker just really puts the Nuggets on his back for the next month and a half and they just ride out the rest of the season and get up to second, maybe even first place, he'll have a case.
So I think it would be great if it should be, and I think it will be, especially with James taking a couple weeks off here. I think it's going to be OKC 1, Denver will be 2. And after watching them play back-to-backs here this last weekend, OKC beat them pretty good, and then Denver beat them pretty good.
Yeah.
And I remember I watched the first game, and I was like, well, OKC's untouchable. Then I watched the Denver game, and I was like, they let OKC get close, just like Denver and OKC game the night before. There's closeness that happened. Then there's the few moments that occurred where the game just goes out of reach. And I feel like in today's NBA, that's the other part that's like, I think, hard for people to translate, going back to the 90s. There's a couple plays in the game can turn from a 2-3-point game to a 13-point game very quickly. This is the part that I think we probably agree on the East with Boston. Boston can flip that script so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't call a timeout. Like back in the day, they scored 2 baskets in a row. They got 4 points. They're ahead by 6. No, it's like 3 baskets, 3 threes, 9 points, 3-point lead went to 12.
Absolutely.
2-point lead went to 11. And everybody's shaking their head like, we just got to hit a shot now. And then the next 3 you take has all that pressure. Now do the playoffs. The playoff pressure. Like, that's where I feel like when we go to the East Coast, I know I'm switching topics on you.
Yeah.
I look at Boston and I'm like, they have so many shooters.
Yes.
And that's the part that I think, going back to OKC and the depth, I think OKC has so many players and people just haven't spent the time researching.
Get to know them.
They're not on national TV a lot.
When it comes to the debate about MVP, for me, MVP, I always ask myself the question, and I know a lot of people that vote on MVPs don't do this, but for me, like I have to ask the question, if you remove that player from their team, what happens to their team? And as great as SGA is, and he's certainly deserves to be in the running for MVP. And I would not be mad if he won it, but I do think there is a case to be made that if you remove SGA from OKC and you remove Joker from Denver, OKC as a team is enough of a well-oiled machine that they would fare better than Denver would without Jokic.
I think the reason you're saying that is because it's very difficult to replace a 7-foot center that does all the things he does.
That too.
Again, this does not take away any of the greatness that we've witnessed with OKC and SGA. But SGA is not. If he was a 7-foot center, again, you can't find another Joker off the street. You can't take the backup center for Denver and say he's going to do all of these things.
No,
that's
true.
The thing that Joker does. That's the 30-20-20 game. He does all of those things.
Yeah.
He doesn't just do passes good. He just doesn't do rebounds good, because we're used to seeing a 7-footer who can grab the boards and play great defense. Joker, no one's going to accuse him of great defense, but he's very systematic on how he plays. But every piece that he does, this is that part of like when you create that video game player, I feel like all of his characteristics are like a 9. He doesn't have like a weak part.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a 9 passer, I'm a 9 shooter, I'm a 9 rebounder, I'm 9 at steals, and you're like, how can you be 9 at all of those things? Like, that's unrealistic.
It's so funny you bring up the video game character, because I feel like in the 90s, like we all like created, like when you could start creating guys in video games, we all created that huge guy that played like a guard, and now like it's literally real life.
Like real life was like, that works. Look how it works really well. We're playing that video game.
Like, wouldn't it be cool if Patrick Ewing could like break guys' ankles and like, you know, also step back and hit threes like it's nobody's business? And
oh my Lord, you just put a memory because of his fadeaway.
yeah, he did have the fadeaway.
What you just painted, that picture is so great, because I know I watched so many Ewings. I just think of him doing that step back 3, a Patrick Ewing step back 3.
A fadeaway 3.
I would be so angry because he's 7 foot and you're like, why are you doing a step back 3? But
I mean, maybe Olajuwon, if he was born nowadays, maybe he would have been.
Oh, they all
like
would
that.
shoot threes, right? They would all shoot threes. The only person that I don't think would be in that game is Shaq.
Yeah, no, that was never going to be his game.
I mean, Shaq was not passing and he was not shooting, but he was the most dominant human being on the court at all times.
But when you needed a bucket, throw it into the big.
So you're okay with who? Again, it's an 82-game season. We still have a couple to go. But these are the top 2 candidates.
I think so.
I don't even think it's that close. Like, these are the top 2. I laughed because everyone's like, look at what LeBron James is doing at his age. Yes, I agree with you. He's doing amazing things.
And look, Cleveland and Boston have a lot of great players. They have MVP caliber players, but those are teams, man. Those are teams. That's like straight out like what makes Boston great, as good as someone like Jason Tatum is. And obviously he's an MVP caliber player, but it's like you said, like they have like so many good shooters and such a good system. And, you know, how do you reward like somebody like Donovan Mitchell, as great as he is and as great as season is, without like mentioning all the other guys on that team that make them click, like Garland and Mobley and Jared Allen? They're a machine as well. So I would say SGA and Joker.
And you're okay with either getting it. I would be okay with either getting it. I just think every time I watch SGA and I'm like, he's really amazing. You can see the talent. You can see the ability. He's very smooth. He's very good. But I watch Joker and I just shake my head, because it just doesn't. Like I said, I watched the 30-20-20 game and I was like, I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't like, this is amazing. I'm watching history. I was just like, how is he doing all this?
Yeah.
How did he get all these stats? Who is he stealing from?
It's unbelievable.
So you wanted to cover going into the Eastern Conference. There's some teams there, and I know it's tough because here's the toughness that everybody has as an NBA fan. Boston and Cleveland are legitimately elite teams in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
And it's very hard for either of us to see those two teams not facing each other. and it being a good series. I don't see Boston losing it, but I can see it being a good series. There's that middle pack in the Eastern Conference that there's some teams that are playing with a lot of spirit, a lot of spunk, that you feel have just a couple more pieces and they're going to be right there.
I do. I mean, I mentioned the Pistons before. I think they're a year or two. I shouldn't say a year or two. I think they're a move or two, like big moves, like getting another All-Star in there, getting that second player to play with Cade Cunningham before they really start to be looked at as contenders. The Bucks, I mean, you can never quite count them out because Giannis is still Giannis as long as he's healthy. Lillard, I know it hasn't worked out as well as they thought, but come playoff time, those two, I wouldn't mind going to war with those two guys on my team.
And they do have Portis coming back.
Yeah, Portis coming back. They still got a month and a half to figure out how Kyle Kuzma fits in with them and if they can get the most out of him. So, he's a guy that can, go off on a night and, he's not super consistent, but can go off and win you a game, surprisingly. So there's a shot there. The Pacers, this is going to sound like I'm just a hater and still bitter about the playoffs last year, but I think the Pacers are pretenders.
Can I take you back on the Pistons? Because I think what's interesting about the Pistons' rise is if you think about where they were, not only last year but the year before, like you're talking about a team that only won 31 games in 2 seasons.
Right. Right.
Think about 17 and 14. I mean, that's nothing. You're not winning at all.
They've got
they fire everybody
this year.
And they're already and what are they, fifth? Are they fifth in the playoffs? Sixth,
I think.
Okay, so they are. I mean that
they'd be playing the Knicks if the playoffs started today.
They were not even. They were the last of the last, and they have flipped that around. So again, I'm more admiring them coming back because usually when you're in the abyss of the NBA, you get stuck in the abyss for a long time. But this is a good rise.
Look, I don't want to say that they didn't construct their roster intentionally, but at the same time they plucked Tobias Harris from the Sixers, who the Sixers were happy to let him walk. They had for years tried to pretend that Tobias Harris was this great third guy for their team, and the Pistons, I don't know that anyone else was dying to have Tobias Harris on their team, but they got him. They got Hardaway Jr., who's been passed around a whole bunch of times. I mean, can be a great shooter, but is really streaky. But it's worked. It's worked. I guess those guys at this point, they're not they know who they are, and they're just kind of playing their roles on to complement Cunningham. They had a huge injury with Jaden Ivey going down early in the year, and they haven't really skipped a beat. In fact, they've got.
You don't know how happy I'd be as a Suns fan if we were having the Detroit Pistons season right now. That's how crazy it is, and we aren't even paying. I mean, the Pistons aren't even close to what the Suns are as far as how they've merged or how they have mortgaged everything for.
Other than being legit title contenders, the Pistons are in the best place that you can be. Because
you're not wrong. So you can trade for a star.
They have cap space. They have picks. They have stud point guard, face of the franchise type of player, and they're right there in the middle of the playoff discussion. They're a couple pieces away. Now
the only thing that I warn them with, I warn all these teams, is you can't ruin it by giving somebody who doesn't deserve a max deal the max deal.
Absolutely.
And then you get completely, kind of you're kind of sandwiched or squished into something you don't want to be in. That is a problem that a lot of teams face today. To your point about if you compare Milwaukee, who I feel is on the outside looking in, and the Detroit, who's on the outside looking in, who gets there faster, I think I mean, depends on what Milwaukee can keep and what they can do. I mean, they really built that team, and they're not there.
See, and Milwaukee, they could turn around and win. They could make it to like Game 7 with the Celtics this year. It wouldn't completely blow me away if that happened. But also, like,
I would be pretty amazed about that, just because to me this is my bias with the Celtics. They shoot the ball so well, like we were talking about. It's hard for me to see them getting or finding or not having a player get hot in a game.
Agreed, because they have too many guys that could do it. No,
when we watched the playoffs back in the day, like if Kobe had an off night, you were not winning. If this player had an off night, you were not winning. With the Boston Celtics, what's really odd, and going back to your team comment with the MVP, is if Tatum has an off night, there's like 5 other guys who can step up.
Absolutely.
And score legitimately 30.
Yeah. Maybe not do the same things that he does, but make up for it in other ways.
No, but my point is, like, the weight isn't on him to do it every night.
No, it's not. It's not.
Like, if he's having an off night, he's not feeling it, and he's creating opportunities for other players who are then scoring 30. It's like he didn't have that good of a game because people commented about that in the playoffs, but other players got more opportunities because he has to get so much attention.
Well, I'll walk it back a little bit, and I would be surprised if the Bucks made it to 7 games with the Celtics, but I guess I'm giving Giannis and Lillard a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But my point in saying that was, as much as I think they could be a title contender, I could also see the Bucks losing in the first round and Giannis asking out of Milwaukee this summer.
It's like the plane's just about to take off, and you're like, and then I can see it crashing.
I could see
jet everywhere.
Yeah.
Giannis is gone. Like, the Milwaukee is awesome off in the abyss, and they're now in the bottom half hanging out with Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oof. I don't know that it gets that bad, but
and with the swamp, as you would say, the swamp being that you can't even make it in the top 10 of your division.
Man, if Giannis is on the trade block this summer, that is going to be something. That would be something.
Who would you want? I'm a Suns guy. Who would you want more, KD or Giannis?
Oh, Giannis, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. I don't disagree with that, but I mean, I think people are going to want KD.
They do. They will. They absolutely will. I've said this before. Someone will talk themselves into Kevin Durant is going to change our world.
So, going to, again, as we're getting ready for the playoffs, everybody wants all this stuff. Any other team in the East that you're like, hey, I feel really good about them?
I really liked the Magic in the beginning of the year. I thought they were going to
What happened to them? They were playing really good.
Severe injuries. Yeah, they lost their 2 best players together for a long stretch.
I feel like the chemistry's off when I watch them. It just feels like they'll make the extra pass to the guy who misses.
I feel like they're never playing with the full team. I feel like there's always different lineups. Like, sometimes guys are heavily featured, and again, I'm not saying I watch every Magic game, but I look at the box scores and I see Jonathan Isaac's numbers look like they're all over the place, and I thought that was a guy that was like a key role player that any team would have, because he's a great long rangy defender. But I think there's just a lot of inconsistency. I don't know what the Hawks are doing either, man. They trade away, what's his name? Who did they trade at the deadline? One of their better players. Well, they traded Bogdanovich, but I don't know. They just seem like I don't know how they're in the playoff conversation, but they are. But I guess Trae Young is pretty good.
So when I watch your point guard, which we hope comes back healthy and strong, and I watch Young, I mean, I'm not biased because I'm not, just because you're here, just because New York, I just don't feel it's a fair comparison. I just feel like your point guard is that much better than Young. That's how I feel when I watch the game.
Yeah.
Like, Young has like parts, pieces. I don't even think he's made it to where like a Damian Lillard. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Like, there's something I'm missing when I watch Young.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he does. Look, Brunson doesn't play great defense, but I mean, Young's atrocious. I mean, it's not even close. Brunson, he's got way more moves than Young does.
Oh, absolutely. You made me think about defense, and I was thinking about like small point guards that were amazing. And I immediately go to the best of the best, which is not fair, but AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think like none of these guys can guard in today's world with no hand checks. I just think of AI in this world that I'm like,
oh,
like good luck.
AI would have destroyed. Oh my God.
Good luck.
He would have been absolutely ruthless.
I mean, they changed rules in dribbling because of him.
He might actually average 50 points nowadays.
And he developed the shot. But again, I agree with you. Atlanta's in the picture, but they're going to be in and out very quickly. Detroit will be interesting to watch in the playoffs just because it's new to them.
If they get the right matchup, they can go to the second round.
I think if they made the first round a series, I would be very proud of them. Because when you win 31 games, the playoffs are just different. Like it's just it's hard to explain. Because when you follow basketball, they have the regular season and how they call the game, and then they have the playoffs and how they call the game. And nothing for nothing, here's what Detroit's going to struggle with. You're not going to get the calls because you don't have the stars. And you don't have the people who are going to demand the calls. So they can be a little more physical with you. They can do those things. And are you prepared to not get the calls? Can you mentally be okay with that and still power through? That's the difficult nature.
Yeah.
That's the part that I look at with New York, and I'm like, they have the stars. They're going to get calls.
And they've been to the playoffs a few years in a row now. They're getting, a little deeper each year. Maybe this is the year where they finally start to be like, you belong here. And so you're going to get the calls. I hope so.
I would say this, and this is the part that I hated about teams that had long runs in the playoffs but got ousted. The teams that step on the throat of the first round, just eliminate them right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just go right at them. Those teams figured out the playoffs. Because every time I watched the teams that made it to the finals repeatedly, they didn't waste any time in the first round.
They didn't. You're right.
They were like 4-1, this is over, 4-0, whatever it may be.
Yep.
We're not messing around. We're going to get to our rest. We're going to beat you down because we know the next series is going to be a war.
Yeah.
So they were like, this is how I would look at it if I was New York. Detroit had a great season. They're a great story. Put our foot on our throat. So let's not get injuries. Let's not get our point guard beat up.
Exactly. They're gonna have the home court advantage. Let's beat them the first two games at home, and let's finish this series quick.
4-2 series, 4-3 series. I would say for New York, that's bad because, again, your point guard cannot get beat up that much in the first round.
No.
You just got to eliminate that team.
Absolutely.
But that's that part that I look at with the killer instinct. Watch how Boston and watch how Cleveland play in the first round.
Oh.
Watch how OKC plays. This is new to them, being the top dog.
Mm-hmm.
Watch how Denver's going to play in the first round. Because in the Western Conference, I think there's a little more. There's a chance that those lower end teams could give you like some fights.
Yeah, if I look at the standings, like I feel better about like the Clippers or the Wolves, and even the Warriors and the Rockets making, that's your 5, 7, 8, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams right now. Oh, the Kings would be 9, but those are your 5 through 8 teams right now. I feel better about one of those teams pulling off an upset in the first round than I do about Pacers, Pistons, Hawks, Magic.
I completely agree with you, and I think that's the part about the Eastern Conference where the top 4 teams are the top 4 teams for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the Western Conference with the trades that occurred, but also like I think if you were gonna ask me who's the most lethal of them all, I'm very biased. I think Minnesota is of all those teams, and they're 7th right now. I think it would be Minnesota to me, and maybe then Golden State, then Houston, then the Clippers. But still, Minnesota, I would not want to face Minnesota in the first round if I'm a 1 or 2.
Mm-mm.
Like even if you're Denver, like if Minnesota faces Denver in the first round, it's a bad matchup.
That's bad for Denver.
Yeah, because again, they have those lengthy centers that can give Joker a problem.
To your point, even if they get out of that series, if it goes like 6 or 7 games and it's an absolute bloodbath, and like then the Nuggets, like they gotta turn around and go face, the Lakers or the Grizzlies or someone in the next round,
But
or the Warriors.
You think about what Ant said about the last time that they faced the Nuggets. Remember that was like a series, and they worked over the Nuggets and they beat them, and they beat the Suns, but then they would face the Mavs and they weren't ready for that third round. You just, again, the intensity, it's not you're sprinting now.
It picks up every series.
Everybody learned this. Michael Jordan learned this. Everybody figured this out. You have to get prepared for the playoffs. Kobe figured this out. You just can't get to the second round and then it's just you get more beat up. I mean, it's the same in the NHL playoffs. Only in the NHL playoffs you really get beat up.
Yeah.
In the NBA playoffs, it's like, that's why
It's exhaustion.
But that's why a Boston team, I think, is even more suited because they're like finessing you to death.
Yeah.
Like none of their baskets, when they're on fire, like none of their baskets are like, whoo, he worked really hard. That's the part about the Suns that drives me nuts. I feel like they work really hard to get a point.
Oh, it's like, I know what you mean. It's like every like offensive possession is just grueling just to put the ball in the basket. And it feels like every time they score, you're like breathing a sigh of relief. And then it's like, oh, we got to do that again now.
Yeah. And then Boston, or like even that's what I felt like with Golden State. Like you make that long three or you do that. It's just like, that was so easy.
Yeah.
It was so easy. It was so hard. That's the part to me that I haven't understood. I don't think they've figured out a system in Minnesota that works with Ant. There's too many times he gets the ball 28 feet from the rim and he's got to make something happen. And it just over the course of a playoff, that just gets harder and harder and harder. I think it's the same with Brunson. He's got to create so much weight, so much pressure. He's clutch. He does all those things. You just need another guy every once in a while.
You do.
Like I felt that with Steve Nash. They just needed somebody else.
Well, to that point, if you had like a creator point guard to play alongside with Ant, I mean, would that work? Would that just be like,
if you're doing pick and pops with him? I mean, I just feel like I don't feel like this season they've really figured it out, because I've seen him get the ball with like 10 seconds to go on the shot clock. One-on-one matchup, he's 28 feet behind the rim. He let the other 4 guys play around and he stepped way out to try to give him a 4-on-4.
Yeah.
And then he's getting the ball and then they're clearing out for him. And I'm like, that's just you can't do that. He can't do that for an entire playoff.
No.
He's taking more threes, which makes it a little easier, but still it's like they need to work on. This is the part about coaching that just drives me nuts. There are coaches who get it. Work the system, get easy shots. Easy shots make your team more successful. Like the reason why Phil Jackson made the triangle work is he tried to get easy shots for individuals, even if they weren't Jordan. And the reason for that is we just need to get to the fourth quarter. We don't need Jordan to have 60 every night.
Right.
Everybody can contribute. So, I mean, and again, in basketball, like, these teams have enough players now that they can get hot. That's the part to me that I think that what I just said about the team contributing, that's the part about OKC and Boston that make them both so lethal. Like when you take Joker off, you eliminate Joker, that really hurts Denver. You can eliminate a couple guys on OKC and they're still lethal.
That's true.
They're still loaded. Boston's the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I'd still, if Tatum went down for the year tomorrow, I'd probably still give Boston the benefit of the doubt that they're going to come out of the East.
Even over Cleveland?
Well,
I know Cleveland hasn't been there like this.
I guess I just got to see it to believe it. I think that's it, Brendan. I got to see it to believe it with Cleveland.
Yeah. No, the other thing that I noticed with Cleveland, I don't know if you've looked at this, but looking at some of their box scores, they're starting to play close games.
Yeah.
With bad teams. Have you noticed that?
I did. Like
they're barely beating a team that's not very good. That's like they've been, I think there's weight on that, if that makes sense. Like when you play this intense for this long, like the natural humanity of just like, oh, I just want to take a break
Well,
or take a breath.
that's what I mean. That's exactly why I don't believe in my Knicks are a real contender, because any team could lose to a bad team in the NBA on any given night. Like any team could have a game, any contender could have a game where they just let their guard up and play poorly against a team that they should be stomping out and blowing out of the gym. But like I've seen it too many times. Like when it happens over and over and over again, it's like this isn't just like losing to a professional team on any given night. This is like an ongoing issue, a lingering problem. So if that's where Cleveland is heading, maybe teams are figuring them out. Maybe teams are starting to get an idea of how they play and how to combat it. And that's what'll make the playoffs so much fun.
Do you feel on coaching wise, do you feel the players listen or pay more attention, or because everybody has all these coaches. There's so many coaches now on these staffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like to your comment about teams figuring it out, like are players just getting more tuned in? Because that's the other thing about the playoffs is the players that are starting to tune it in. You know what I mean? They're not just like going through the motions.
I mean, if we take them at face value, the teams that win players always talk about buying into the system, and maybe that's just something that they say. Maybe that's just like one of those cliche lines that the players know to give their coach and their staff credit. But I believe it to a degree, and I think there's truth to it. I think bad teams, they don't have they either don't have a good system or they're not buying into it and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And good teams tend to be guys that buy into the system and play are playing a very specific way. I think the Knicks did it. And they did it to perfection at the end of last year until they ran out of gas and 3 of their rotation players got injured and were out.
Now we're into injuries. I got to go back to the coverage of the Western Conference trade. So Dallas is fielding like 7 guys, maybe 8 guys, but they have enough of a buffer between them and the Suns. They have the Suns, Portland, and I believe it is San Antonio, which will not make a push here. But it's basically Portland and the Suns, and I believe the Suns are trying. I believe that in my heart. Mm-hmm. It may not look like
they
that.
They desperately want to make it.
And, I mean, the Mavs lost to the Suns, and then they proceeded to win one. But, like, every win the Mavs get, I feel, is like a giant shotgun or bullet shot to the Suns fan base of, like, we may not get this.
Yeah.
And, like, the Mavs, I feel, are like that character in a movie that's not dead yet. Like, their bench is ridiculous right now. The amount of guys that are hurt is just... you can't even fathom it.
Yeah, I mean,
but here they are they're still playing, and they still are in that spot, and they're not like in it by one game or a half
exactly
game.
500, I think.
And how much are they up on the Suns right now? Are they 3 games or is it like 2.5? I can't remember, but it's just enough that it feels like a lot for the Suns.
They are yeah, they're 33-33. The Suns are 30-35. So they got 2 in hand.
Doesn't it? To me, it just feels like so. And we have a lot of games, but it just feels like a big ask for the Suns, who can't put it together.
Yep.
So you may get a Mavs team 10th, and I think they said PJ Washington should be coming back.
Mm-hmm.
AD's going to come back in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So like they're gonna get the guys back, and then they're gonna be better.
They'll have some depth.
So like, it'll be an interesting playoff with them in it. It's hard for me to see the Suns beating them.
I
just
don't see how that offense is really running without Irving.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just
Well,
I'm watching.
maybe that'll stump other teams too, because they just won't know where it's coming from any given night. You know, you're gonna have the AD game, you're gonna have the PJ Watkins game.
AD makes himself the MVP candidate, goes for 40 and 20 every night. And everyone's like, "Ooh, where would
Would be a
really?"
heck of a twist to the whole Luka AD trade. The
He
Lakers
becomes the
maybe
guy.
get punked out in round 1 or 2, and then AD leads them to the Western Conference Finals or something like that. That would be something.
And then on the Lakers side with James getting injured, I don't know how real this is or how not real it is. We've seen James go down.
Oh,
Yeah, he's out 1 to 2 weeks, they said. And my favorite is, I think his agent, the guy who runs the agency that LeBron James is a part of, he was like, yeah, he knows his body the best, so he'll come back when he's ready. And I was like, can you imagine? Can you imagine an agent speaking up for a player back in the day? Like, he's literally like, James will tell you when James is ready to come back. And he has his own trainers and his own staff, and he'll let the Lakers know.
he'll let the Lakers know when he's ready.
But then I watch Luka, and I feel like Luka's doing too much. He's going to get hurt again.
Oof.
I feel like when I watch Luka, I feel like he's very fragile.
It's been hard to shake the comments that have come out from the Mavericks and how they feel about him. It's really hard to shake that. For his sake, for Luka's sake, he needs to go on a big stretch run of just dominant basketball. And
The Lakers are currently sitting 2. If all things considered, they stay the way they are. Minnesota's
no,
seven.
Denver is in second right now.
Yeah, you're right. They lost to Denver 1. So I mean, they're back and forth. But if which one do you think is a worse matchup for the top team? So if the Lakers are 2 and face Minnesota, or Denver is 2 and face Minnesota, which of those teams are worried about that matchup, or both of those top seeds very concerned about a Minnesota matchup?
I think both of those teams are concerned. I would still pick both the Nuggets and the Lakers to beat Minnesota, but I think if you asked them, gave them truth serum, I don't think the Nuggets or the Lakers want to see Minnesota.
Do you know, I would, here are the teams that I would love to see if I'm the Clippers. Denver would love to see the Clippers too,
Yeah,
over Minnesota.
I agree with that.
Hands down. And the other one that they would like to see probably is like Houston.
Yeah,
But the problem with Houston, and if Houston falls down, which could happen, they could come down to life and end up being a 7 or an 8 like we were talking about, because we have some games. Here's the problem that you have with Houston in the Western Conference. I feel like Houston is the old Detroit Bad Boys. I feel like if you're in a series with Houston and you do not sweep them, they are going to beat you up.
yeah.
Like, can you imagine? I mean, Houston and the Lakers, I feel like they would beat Luka up for, even if they lost 4 games, Luka would leave that series like, damn, they used all 18 fouls against me. You know?
Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the way Houston plays. They play they're very much in your face.
Houston's a funny team. They're kind of like the Pistons, where they kind of arrived a little bit sooner than you thought they were going to.
I completely agree with you.
They have
A lot of
young guys.
Staff for Houston.
Yeah. Udoka, Celtics guy. I guess shouldn't be surprising.
It will be great to see what the matchups are. It'll be good to see what we're witnessing and what could happen. I do think the Eastern Conference is going to be a little bit boring before it gets tuned up when the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Western Conference is going to have interesting stories.
They'll have some interesting first round matchups.
But I don't think you may have one first round matchup that's going to be like, wow, did you see that?
Yeah.
But I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises. And I feel when you get to the Final Four of both the Western and Eastern Conference,
That's when it really begins.
That's when everyone's going to be like, okay, who has that? That's when you're going to see that first round series. If you took it to 6 or 7 when you shouldn't have,
Yeah.
that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
That's just going to hurt you.
That's going to hurt you.
So the best part about it is history's being made. If you're not watching the NBA, just put on Joker and try not to watch the stats while he's working, because I swear to God, you'll get it wrong.
You'll miss it. You blink and you'll miss it.
Hands down. Hands down. Well, hats off to Houston. Hats off to Detroit. Great year. Amazing years for those two teams. No one expected them to be where they're at.
Yeah.
And we still have to say, I think our biggest losers are still the Philadelphia 76ers and the Phoenix Suns.
Absolutely.
Like there's not even, I mean, I think those two are competing with each other, but in their own leagues, there's nobody who's more disappointing than those two teams.
Right. And not a whole lot of options for improvement.
I agree with you. It's an interesting time for both of those teams. The offseason will be very intriguing because you have certain teams that are like, what will Detroit do? What will Houston do? What will OKC do? What will these teams do here in the offseason? And what will Philly do? And what will the Suns do? Because they're trying to figure it out because what they have is not going to take them there.
No. Oh, man, the offseason is going to be real interesting.
Well, luckily for you, you get the hoop and the harm with us too, and we'll be covering it all year long. And we're looking forward to the playoffs. Maybe we'll do a couple extra additional episodes. We'll do a reaction to some of the games we'll watch. Obviously, with the Knicks, we know the Knicks are in it. The Knicks are not going to be in the playoffs, but
I'm saying nothing. I'm saying nothing.
we get to have a reaction thing. The Suns still have hope, everybody.
They do.
It's just very difficult. Even with the Mavs having like 5.5 players, it's hard for me to see them overtaking them, which is wild.
But it's also hard to see Kevin Durant not making the playoffs.
You're not
maybe the Kings will drop out. Maybe the Kings will start losing a little more.
Well, we only got 20 games left?
Something like that.
We're in the final 100. What is it? Final round of track. You get 4 times around the track. This is the final one.
Yep.
So we'll see how they pace themselves. But I looked at the Suns' schedule and they're playing some good teams, which is not good for them.
No, it's not.
They need to play bad teams. They need to just play the bottom of the barrel. They need 76ers 3 more times on their schedule.
The problem is when you're 11th, there's not so many bad teams underneath you.
Fair.
That's what's rough.
Fair point. That's everybody I look at. I'm looking up at them.
Oof.
Alrighty, everybody. I'm your host, Brendan, and this is our expert, Nolan. Appreciate your time and appreciate you subscribing and liking and enjoying our very new channel, The Batter Sports, The Hoop and the Harm.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.